Welcome back. Now, all the reactions to the 2020 draft budget is that of an economist and a member of the People's Democratic Party, Mr. Akabueze. He raised a yellow flag on the federal government's increase in value-added tax, VAT, and increased borrowing. Take a listen.
Budget does not sustain no growth because so far we don't have no growth. This is a budget primarily built on tax. So if you're going to tax a general consumption tax, this is not proper. Don't listen to those who tell you stories about VAT is not on the poor. It's not true. How many percentage are you looking at? How many percent are you also looking from the oil collections? This is what I'm telling you. The government says there is no money. If there is no money, and the only way it can make money is to tax, that simply means that the population are in for a problem. Even if it is 40%, even if it is 45% of the expected earnings, that is crazy. We cannot be talking about a tax that is, a budget that is premised on up to 35% based on taxation.
Let's now join Nigeria's Chief Budget Officer, the Director General of the Budget Office of the Federation, Mr. Ben Akabueze, to give us some insight on some of the key indicators in the draft budget. We'd like to thank you for joining us at this time. Just paraphrasing who you just heard from, the economist, Mr. Akabueze, are we in for a problem?
Well, the truth is, I listened to Mr. Ononuju yesterday and the clip that you just played. I don't know which budget he's analyzing because he clearly either hasn't read the budget or doesn't understand the budget. First, he says the budget is based on tax. You know, there is what we call the fiscal framework, which the National Assembly, first of all, passes by resolution. That's out of the medium-term expenditure framework and fiscal strategy paper. And then the law requires that the budget be based on that. And eventually, when the Appropriation Act is passed, that the fiscal framework will be a schedule to the Appropriation Act. When you look at that, it will show you the details of the revenue sources for this budget. For the federal government, the totality of VAT included in the federal government's revenue profile for 2020 is 292 billion naira, inclusive of the impact of the 2.5% increase. So the actual impact for the federal government of the 2.5% increase is under 100 billion naira. So how does a man stand up and say the budget is based on tax? I don't know where he gets his 35% ratio, because when you take the 292 billion and add to the 810 billion naira share of the federal government from companies' income tax, it doesn't come anywhere near 35% of the projected revenues. So, I mean, there's a whole lot of other stuff that he's said about the budget that worries me. I think maybe, in fairness to a lot of the people, they haven't had time to read the budget. The budget is beyond the 4-page appropriation bill. We have a 2,000-page details of the budget, and it's already posted on the website of the budget office, and I think people should take time to read it. The other thing that all of the commentators, and there have been a lot of them over the last 2 days, and with due respect, many of them, as I said, suffer from the same thing of either not understanding or not having read had time to read and digest the budget. One point that is lost on all of them is that the country is effectively at war in its northeastern flank. And so this budget, in any country, the wartime budgets are different from normal time budgets. In this budget, you have aggregate expenditures, recurrent and current, of about $1 billion that will not be there if we were not, we did not have the situation that we were at. And that is money that will then will have been available, to fund infrastructure. Additionally, you recall that, $1 billion was taken from the excess crude account for, to equip, the defense forces. If we didn't have this situation, that is money that will have been available to the sovereign wealth fund, to invest in infrastructure. And these are some of the things. There's a context to the budget. People have, a lot of people say, there's a lot of recurrent expenditure, personnel cost is high. It's true, and the president did say that. But when you have a situation like this, how do you deal with it? What we're trying to do is make sure that, measures are taken to ensure that only people who are actually working are getting paid. But at a time like this, it's not the time to retrench staff and compound the socioeconomic, situation that you have. So I'm not sure that a lot of the people who are commenting actually understand that budgets are situated
Let me quickly come in here. So with that answer, what would you say is the biggest challenge for you in really managing budgetary policies, considering, some of the things you've also mentioned? And this is plus the fact that the president, when he spoke to the Economic Advisory Council, he spoke to them about getting reliable data. How does that help you at the budget office?
Well, to answer your question, the most significant fiscal challenge that we have, which both limits the size of the budget. We should really be talking about a budget much larger than this. But this significant limiting factor is revenues. That's our number one challenge. And that's what I think that, I've been listening to all of the commentators, just come up with, real, implementable solutions about how we can tackle this problem. And people just talk about, the budget size is low. What do you do? So, something, are not happy with the size of the budget, but then they are also not happy with government's effort to step up, revenue, generation. At the same time, they are not happy with the borrowing. So how do you actually get the budget to be bigger than this? In this budget and in the president's speech, you see the government recognizes the challenge of revenue generation and is taking real concrete measures to address the problem. A lot of people have referred to the non-performance of the revenue targets in the past. But look beyond that to say, are there measures in the 2020 budget and fiscal policies to address that problem? In the 2019 budget, for instance, we have a provision for 320 billion naira that we projected to come from the revision of the PSC terms. The president stated in his speech that he sent the bill to revise those terms that will have enabled us end that revenue. He sent it to the National Assembly since June 2018. On that basis, we presumed that the National Assembly would deal with it. And so we put that projection in 2019. It hasn't happened. The bill hasn't been passed. So that revenue can't be generated. But the new National Assembly has already indicated that they're going to deal with it even before the end of this year. And so we have captured that in 2020. In the 2020 revenue projections, there's a plan by the government for petroleum, for oil and gas bid rounds next year. That wasn't possible in the past without getting the PIB passed. Right. Because unless there's some certainty around the governance and fiscal terms for the sector, you're not likely to have a very successful bid round. Now, this National Assembly has committed itself to passing, the PIB, and you had the president speak to it again during so there's basis, that specific things. The president mentioned that this budget will be accompanied by, a finance bill, which will make specific proposals and recommendations for amendments to legislation and new legislation that will address our revenue challenge. Most of the people talking haven't even bothered to figure out what's in the finance bill.
We have to get you back on,
Mr.
Akabueze. We really would have to get you back on to make several more clarifications. But we'd like to thank you. Thank you so much, DG Budget Office of the Federation, Mr. Ben Akabueze, for joining us at this time. We need to go now as we wrap things up. Thank you for watching. Join the discussion via social media platforms as we continue to talk for development. I'm Millicent Walker. Have a pleasant day ahead.